Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Rabbi.
We're learning Mishnah Pesachim, Parakeh, Chapter 5, Mishnah Test, Mishnah 9. After the carbon Pesach was slaughtered and the blood was thrown onto the altar, there were certain parts of the animal that had to be removed that would be offered on the Mizbeach on the altar. And in order to get to those parts, you have to first skin the animal. You skin the animal, then you cut it open. So this Mishnah is going to discuss the process of skinning the animal, the carbon Pesach, after it was slaughtered. They bring down here in the introduction so that the animals can be skinned easily. The offering was suspended by their hind legs. It was suspended and then it was skinned. So the Mishnah discusses how this was done. The Mishnah reads, Keitzad toilun umafshitin. How did they hang the offerings and skin them? Iron hooks were affixed in the walls of the azara of the courtyard and in the pillars that were in the courtyard. Now these pillars, now let me read here from the bottom, a little bit more background. A section in the northern side of the courtyard was known as the Beis Hamit B'chayim, the butchering area, and was where the offerings were slaughtered and their hide was removed. So there's a special area where it was done. That area contained 8 short stone pillars topped with blocks of wood in which hooks were affixed. In addition, hooks were affixed to the walls of the courtyard in that area. So that's what it means. You had these iron hooks that were affixed to the walls and to these pillars. And it was on these hooks that they would hang the animal and skin them. Now, if you had someone who had no place to hang the animal and to skin it, there were a lot of animals that was being done to right now at this point in time. And therefore, it was going to happen that they would run out of hooks. So if somebody doesn't have a hook to go ahead and hang and to skin the animal on, and that the Mishnah says, Makleis dakim chalokim hayusham. There were these thin, peeled or smooth pieces of wood. Umeniach al kasef al kasav chaveroi, and a person would put the stick on his shoulder and on the shoulder of his friend. Now they explain that to mean here that a person would face his friend and rest one of the end of the stick on his shoulder and the other end on his friend's shoulder. Okay, so we're facing each other. The stick is on this shoulder and it's going to the other person's shoulder. Okay. Now, in this case,
when they're facing each other,
they were facing each other. Yes. It does not say here in which direction that stick went. Did it go diagonal? Did it go straight? I don't know if it makes any difference. But the point is that you had one end of the stick on your shoulder, the other end of the stick on the other person's shoulder. You hung the animal from that, and you skinned it. Rebbe Lezer says, Arba Asar. I didn't skip anything, right? No. Rebbe Lezer says, Arba Asar Shachal Yais B'Shabbos. Now, what happens if the 14th of Nisan, which is Erev Pesach, falls out on Shabbos? And on Shabbos, these poles that we're talking about are muktzah. The reason these sticks are muktzah is because these sticks were designated to use for skinning animals, which is an activity that is normally forbidden on Shabbos. Therefore, they were muktzah and could not be moved. So Yehuda says, so what do you do then if there's no more hooks? So the Rebbe Lezer says, Arba Asar Shachav L'Yais B'Shabbos. The 14th that fell out on Shabbos. Meniach Yadai Al Kasav Chaveroi. You place your hand on your friend's shoulder. V'yad Chaveri Al Ksefoi. Your friend puts his hand on your shoulder. V'teilu Umapshit. And you hang it that way. Now, 2 things. In this case, they bring down from the Taisus Yantif that the way they would do it with their hands was 2 people would face each other and each would rest his left hand on the other's right shoulder. Okay? My left hand went on your right shoulder and your left hand went on my right shoulder, which means they crossed. Okay? They would suspend the offering from their arms and use their free hand to skin it. That's how it was done when it was Shabbos. Again, according to Rabbi Yehuda. This Rabbi Yehuda is saying on Shabbos, you are not able to use those sticks because they were muktzah. The Tanna Kama did not say that. Tanna Kama did not differentiate between Shabbos and not Shabbos. So they bring down here the Tanna Kama, however, holds that the sticks may be used even on Shabbos, because muktzah is only a rabbinic restriction of Shabbos. Rabbinic restrictions on Shabbos activity do not apply in the Beis Hamikdash in the temple when, in this case, you need it for the service. You need to skin the animal because you got to be able to skin the animal to get out the parts that have to be offered on the Mizbeach, on the altar. So therefore, in this case, for whatever Rebbe Lezer's reason was, Rebbe Lezer said that this rabbinic prohibition is still going to stick in the Beis Hamikdash. The Tanna Kama said, maybe according to Rebbe Lezer, muktzah is more stringent. They don't explain exactly here. But according to the Tanna Kama, muktzah, the fact that I cannot use this stick on Shabbos is a rabbinic prohibition. And since it was and therefore we say rabbinic prohibition is suspended in the Beis Hamikdash when you need it for the service you're doing. And in this case, you clearly did need it for the service because you need to skin the animal in order to be able to get out the parts that you have to offer. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you, Rabbi.
So if it had